Hello, my name is Kelsey. This is my channel where I talk about crochet, knitting, and other sorts of crafting I'm currently in the middle of working on. We are going to be discussing my goals and intentions for 2025. Of course, it's a little bit later in the year to be setting these. This is maybe not the most optimal time to be releasing this video, but I do think the best time to make a goal is whenever you think you need a change and not necessarily at like some sort of arbitrary deadline. So keeping that in mind, welcome to the video. So the first thing I wanted to go over is my goals for my stash. All of these goals I think are fairly easy to achieve. My number one goal is to use my hand-dyed and nice yarns. I already pretty much have my plans for those scheduled. Like, I know what month I'm going to be making them in. I know what I'm making, and I have that all in my head. So there doesn't seem to be barriers in place at this point. Like, I think I'm pretty excited for those projects, but I wanted to set the intention that I'm not going to be hoarding things just for the sake of holding on to them. I have quite a few sweater quantities in my stash right now, and I don't want them to stay there. I don't think I want to hold on to like a bunch of sweater quantities anymore. Currently I have approximately 10 sweater quantities in my stash, and that's from buying things for a certain garment and then figuring out it's not going to work for that garment, or like changing my mind about things. So I really want to set the mindset that I am not increasing the sweater quantities. I want to decrease these sweater quantities so that next year maybe I can be a little bit more impulsive with what I make. I don't think I really, maybe impulsive is not the right word, because I do love scheduling. I love scheduling things for myself. It's very helpful for me personally. But I think if I don't have like a sweater quantity locked down for all the garments I'm making like I do this year, if I don't have that next year, I think it will allow me to like sort of evolve like the colors I'm using and change things around and like really invert the colors I am normally comfortable with and use something different in the upcoming 2026. So I am going to attempt to downscale the amount of sweater quantities I have in stash, and I don't think that will be difficult. However, I do think we've unlocked a new issue, which is sock quantities, but that'll be a next year goal. I am ignoring that. I am ignoring my love for sock sets at this point in time. So with that being said, the other stash goal I have is I want to try and focus more on my local dyers and my local shops versus online shops. Not that I don't love online shopping. I love it so much. But sometimes I do think that I have a tendency to pre-order things on impulse, and then by the time that they swing around, I still am happy to have them, but I'm less excited about them than I maybe thought I was going to be. So I think being able to touch and feel something at a store is just altogether a more positive experience for me, because I remain excited about stuff, and it supports like more local businesses to me and local shops to me, and it reduces like the amount of waste that comes from like shipping things across the country. So I do think it is overall like a better choice for me to focus on my local area. That being said, girl, I really love super glow fibers. I'm not even kidding. I am so impulsive when it comes to super glow fibers. It's not even funny. I should not be following them on any social media, because they can get, she gets me real bad. She always manages to get me. And part of that attempting not to buy from things is also I'm attempting to not buy yarn until Great Basin's Fiber Art Festival. because I have most of my projects for the first half of the year planned out, number one. So there's nothing I really need to immediately buy yarn for. And then the second thing is that at Great Basin Fiber Arts Festival, I'll be able to see and feel a lot of things I wouldn't normally be able to see and feel because it's not carried in shops or whatever. So I'm really excited. So I want to be able to have the money to buy things at Great Basin Fiber Arts Festival. And part of that is not buying things from other places before that happens. There is one exception. I am going to Las Vegas sometime in March for the Pennzoil 400 for NASCAR, and I'm very excited about it. And I am planning on my drive there to take a little bit of a detour. So either on my way there or on my way back, I'm going to be stopping at Harmony in Provo, which is a yarn shop I have been to once, but I really, really liked it. And I want to stop there again. And then I have been to most local yarn stores in Utah. I've been to all of them, I think, except for one. So, and that is in Richfield, which is not on the way to Las Vegas, but it is close enough that I am going to make that detour, so I just do end up going there at some point, and I'm very excited about that. And then, so I will probably buy something from those places, should I find it. And then I'm also planning, while in Vegas, to go to, I think, the only, like, local yarn store in Las Vegas. There's, like, 1,000 in Reno. None of them are in Vegas, which I guess Vegas is incredibly hot, so that makes sense. I'm sorry, my dog is screaming. I can't. So I'm going to be buying something at Sin City Yarns when I am in Las Vegas. My goals for YouTube are, one, I want to sort of keep attempting to improve the quality. I want to figure out a better mic setup, and I want to maybe buy a camera at some point. I also want to maintain notes for these videos so they're a little bit more streamlined and I'm not going everywhere and like just getting sidetracked. For crafting, the meat of the video, I want to keep better project notes throughout the year so that when my next wrap-up comes along, I have more information to go off and I can give more of like a better assessment of like the length of a project and things that happened just overall. I think that would be fun. I want to keep track of the total yards I use in a project, and then I want to keep track of when I start putting things on hold and not working them as much, so I have a better idea of how many days I was actively working on a project, and all of that goes to the statistics I put at the end of my wrap-up video this year. I want to put more interesting statistics at the end of the video next year. So those are two that I've been noodling about. And then for knitting, I want to improve my sock knitting. Number one, I want to improve my sock knitting. I finished my first sock. It is very lumpy, and I think my Kitchener stitch on the tip of it is maybe not gonna stand the test of time, but it is my first sock, and that's good enough. I want to learn color work. I want to learn how to do color work. I have a class coming up next weekend that I have a class for color work coming up next weekend to teach me how to do that, and then I'm going to combine those two skills into my bucket list knit along project, which has actually not been on my bucket list for a very long time because I didn't know how to knit, and that is a cowl that is done by M to the Third and Tim from the Sibling Energy podcast. I want to work on the August Colorwork Cuff Club socks by Summer Lee. That is the reason I wanted to learn how to make a sock, was so that I could eventually make those socks. So my goal, I have the yarn picked out for what I'm going to make, like what yarn I'm going to use for it. I have everything picked out, but I want to make it by the end of the year. And I'm a little bit nervous because colorwork is one beast and then colorwork sock is a different beast. Also, I just want to improve at knitting overall. Laddering, I've started having that issue and I don't like it, and I would like to get better at my knitting so I don't have to deal with that. I would like not to have to frog as much knitting because I hate frogging. It's a diabolical when it comes to knitting. Like crochet is super easy to frog. Knitting, evil. Now, my crochet goals, I've mentioned this before. I have a sweater, a colorwork sweater vest I want to make that I am planning on basically making the colorwork pattern from scratch. That's just basically like a flower like pattern with the Happy Days yarn with both the melange and the color version. And then my other goal for crochet is not to take on 2 pattern tests over the Christmas season. I successfully finished this one. My other one hasn't been done yet, but having them back to back has been a little bit overwhelming and a little bit, I would say, like, both of them were good experiences. It's just not fun to have to make something. It's not fun to have to make something versus choosing to make it sometimes. Especially over the Christmas season when you already have so much stuff you're committed to when it comes to family and friends and just other events. It's just a mess. It can be just a mess. So next year I will not be taking on a pattern test in November and December, period. I'm not doing that. No matter how cool the sweater is, no matter how much I liked this one, I'm not doing it again. And then my final thing is that I do want to learn to sew, which is like I feel like everybody has like a goal at some point to learn to sew. But I want to take a class this year if I possibly can and learn to sew. And then the final thing is just like some general life stuff. One of them I've already like been doing, and that is walking my dog for longer. He used to play with my parents' dog, and she just recently passed late last year, so he's had a lot of excess energy and he drives me crazy sometimes, but it's not his fault. He is a dog and dogs want to go on walks, so my goal has been to take him on longer ones, and I have successfully managed to do that. The other one is to volunteer locally. I have submitted like application stuff for a couple organizations as of Friday, so I'm in the process of trying to volunteer a little bit more locally. I haven't started quite yet. So that's it for this video. If you have any sort of goals and intentions you are planning on for the next years, please leave them in the description or the comment box down below. I would love to hear about it. Like this video if you liked it. If you didn't like it, I don't care to hear from you at all. Please leave me alone. And then once all that is said and done, you can subscribe to this video to see more of the videos that come out when I have the energy to produce them. So that all being said, I will hopefully see you again sometime soon. I will endeavor to see you within the next 2 weeks, hopefully. But until then, please stay safe and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.